something very weird happened, which actually saved me a lot of money for a whole year with my electric bill. So if you can see here, for almost a year, I was paying almost nothing, sometimes less than $10 a month. I'd love to ask you what happened because I didn't really want to call them to find out what could have been the issue. But basically, here's what happened. So last June, in the middle of the month, for some reason, everything was working totally normal. All of a sudden, power goes out, but only in half the house. None of the major rooms we always use were affected. So the kitchen was fine. Well, one of the bathrooms, the power was out. The bedrooms were okay. And like the living room, dining room were okay. But for some reason, also like half of the outlets were out. I thought I'd get to the bottom of it. Went to the circuit breaker. Nothing wrong. It's like everything seemed normal on my end. Okay, so I thought, well, I'll call an electrician. At the time, I didn't really get into it. I was working a lot of overtime. I didn't have really the opportunity to just take off work and be like, I can wait for electric guy. He might be here between 8 a.m. and 4 p.m., right? So I put it off. Then I got my bill, and it was so cheap. I was like, what is going on? So the solution was I got a couple extension cords for the outlets that didn't work. For example, the stove didn't work right away, so I actually plugged it in like that day into a different outlet. But things like for the PlayStation, TV, and stuff like that, I just ran an extension cord from the one room where the outlet worked, sort of around the wall, and I plugged everything in there. I get next month's bill is almost nothing. So typically I pay, this says about $63 on average a month. It's probably like $60 to $70 a month. But I was paying $15 or less for an entire year, and I have no idea why. Eventually, the power company shows up, and they're like, something looks like we have an issue on our end and we need to fix it. I was like, all right, I just happened to be home that day. I work at night. I saw they were outside. I'm like, sure, fine, whatever. About an hour later, they're like, yeah, we got to go back and get some supplies and things like that to fix something. I'm like, okay. Come back, fix it. All of a sudden, all the power's on. This is like a year later because it really didn't affect my life and I was saving so much money. Now, all of a sudden, everything works again. My bill is back up to over $60 a month. So what on earth? Anybody out there know why I paid almost nothing for a year for electricity? And it's like I didn't use any less. Still playing the same amount of video games, still cooking the same amount of food. All that doesn't really use up a lot of electricity. You know, the refrigerator's plugged in, every appliance, nothing was affected except I ran a couple extension cords to make up for where we were missing power. What are your thoughts on that? But boy, am I happy that it happened. So that's just something weird I want to talk about. That's about it.